Hey guys, welcome back to Planet Tyro. I'm your host Donald Wunder, and you're back here with me at the Tyro library. Yes, it looks so nice and cozy in here, and I'm sitting here to talk to you about a book I just read that I feel very kind of mixed about. This book has got a lot of praise, a lot of high ratings, and the premise is absolutely fucking fantastic. But I want to get into why I feel here and there about the book. Here and there. I said that in a funny way. So the book I'm talking about are the first 15 lives of Harry August, written by Claire North. Now, this is a fantasy, drama, science fiction, time travel book, and it's about this man called Harry August. I think he was born in the 1910s or something, in the early 19th century, and basically he finds out that he has a very special ability. Basically, every time he dies, he is reincarnated into the same life as a baby again, but he retains all of his memories from his previous life. So he's reliving his life again and again and again. And when we think of people having time loops, we think of things like Groundhog Day. So many movies and shows have done with time loops in a very interesting way. But in those series, all these other pieces of fiction, it's always in a short term, but this guy lives an 80-year lifespan, dies, and is reborn. So for that being a hook for a story, I thought, wow, this is going to be even more fantastic and more intriguing in Groundhog Day, because this guy has so many facts about life, so many facts about the future, that he can kind of manipulate his future and world events. And you know, through the story of the book, he does experiment with his life. I mean, the first two of his lives, I think the first time he's reborn, he's so confused, and I think on his second life he just commits suicide. Like, he thinks he's gone completely crazy, and only in the third and fourth life does he realize that, you know what, I'm in a certain situation, so I'm going to take advantage of it. I don't want to get too much into spoilers, because this story has a lot of plot, but man, did this story kind of let me down overall, because I think the main thing I didn't like about this book was the main character. The main character is kind of boring. I think he's an English fellow like myself, but he's just not very charismatic and not very passionate. He just seemed very kind of like trivial and blasé about the situation, and I just was so irritated. Like, I wish there was a much more passionate character as the main character, because this character would meet people in the story that are super passionate. Like, he would meet, for the sake of argument, let's just say in the story he meets someone who he tells he's been reliving his life, and they take him hostage and they try to abuse him, and these people are passionate because they want to abuse him. I'm like, yes, these are people that have all these emotions, that are kind of energetic, that want to do something with him. But this guy, the way he talks through the book, the way he narrates the book, is like, yes, and on my other life I kind of committed suicide, and then I just blah 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 blah. Now let me put this in context. This guy has lived for centuries. I don't want to get into spoilers, but he's lived so many lives. The book is called The 15 Lives of Harry August, and if he's 80 and he's lived 10 lives, that's 800 years. He's lived for so long. So there's a level of complacency, I understand. He gets to an age where he's just so bored with his life that I can understand why, as a narrator, as the main character, he's become somewhat procedural and somewhat bored. But for the reader, that's what made the book a bit of a downer for me. But as I was reading the book, just as I was getting bored and I was going to quit, the lady who wrote the book started to expand the universe, and we started to find out things like the main character is not the only one who has this repeating life syndrome. There's other people that have lived before him and after him and during him that have lived multiple lives, and they've even set up this kind of club to help people live in these multiple lives. And that is an extremely gripping part of the story. When you find out there's people that are living lives, and there's even someone abusing their powers of the future, which gets into a little subsection of the story, and the villain, the ultimate villain of the story, turns out to be very compelling. But this book went through waves. It started off great premise, but the main character just didn't keep me interested for so long. And by the end of the book, I was like, I love the premise, I love the world, I love the idea, but I don't love the character. I don't like the other characters that are just so jaded, that makes the story lifeless. Imagine Groundhog Day if it wasn't the charismatic Bill Murray, if it was some old English man who was very trivial about the situation. That's what this book is like. It's like Groundhog Day if it wasn't done by a very charismatic character. So you've got a great premise with enjoyable subplots and enjoyable environment not being utilized well enough. So man, look, I really wanted to give up on this book so many times, but the premise was so enjoyable and the main character would meet other people reliving these lives that was so impressive to me that it kept me hooked. But I will say, man, by the end of the book, it was building up to something and it just ended. When it just ended like that, I was like, are you kidding me? It just kind of cut off. It was conclusive, but it just kind of cut off as well, which kind of pissed me off. I was like, really, man? So honestly, this really, I know I said it before, but this is like Groundhog Day with a very lame protagonist. Oh, so disappointed. But you know what? The book has got very high remarks, but I was having a laugh on Goodreads because a lot of the people that were frustrated with the book found it a slog just like me, but they loved the concept. Honestly, this book would have been a sci-fi classic. It would have been one of my favorite time travel books if the characters in the book weren't so jaded and if the main character wasn't such a boring ass guy. I don't know what to say. I'm losing my I can't even articulate how disappointed I am with the story on the whole. But reading the story, I think this would make a wicked movie because I think they would trim the fat and they would make it more energetic. But there are some people on the review sites that have echoed my quibbles, echoed my frustrations with the book. So as a result, what would I give it? I'm going to be fair and give it a low solid B because the concept is so good, it actually kept me from dropping the book. The book was probably a bit longer than it needed to be. It's called The First 15 Lives, and you do go through those 15 lives, and it just felt like it was meandering on. But I love sci-fi. I love a good sci-fi premise, and this was taking that Groundhog Day theme to the extreme. And as a TV miniseries, this would be fantastic. As a movie series, this would be fantastic. As a book series, it was very interesting, but the main characters just bothered the hell out of me, man. You know, and I liked the villain more because the way he was energetic, he was more thought-provoking what he wanted to do, even though what he wanted to do was ultimately bad. But, you know, if the main characters were just more energetic, I really would have loved this book. But I still want to give credit to the author because I think she did a fantastic job with the groundwork. But I just didn't like the main characters, which is a shame. But, you know, most people love the book. It's got 4s and 5s, but I have to give it low solid B because I'm kind of disappointed. But anyway, guys, let me just leave it there. If you've read the book, let me know what you think in the comments down below. It's hard not to recommend this book if you like this kind of story, but I just think it missed the ball. And the more I think about it, the more disappointed I am about it. But again, let me hear your thoughts and comments down below. But man, I love books, I love reading because you know what? They tickle the mind, they get the synapses running, and they're very cerebral. These time travel, these thinking books about people's lives, they're very cerebral, they're very thought-provoking. And you know, even though you don't get winners all the time, you get something that gives you food for thought. And at minimum, I think that's what this book was good at. Food for thought on a very interesting character and a very interesting premise. That left me wanting just a little bit. Anyway, guys, thanks for watching. Hit that like button and the subscribe button if you want more content from Planet Tyro. You can also hit the annotations on the right to all the other stuff we do for animation, books, TV shows, what have you. Until then, I want to say thanks for watching. Thanks for listening to me ramble. And I'll see you on the next video. Take care. Peace out.